Today's topic, New Year's resolutions and crystal ball predictions. I like this one. I don't know what predictions the panel will come up with. I have some of my own, and we'll see how that goes. So with that being said, let's welcome our panel with who I see first, and that is Greg.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Greg Girelli with Girelli Insurance Agency. We're located in Cold Spring, New York, and we have Community Association Master Policy Insurance programs throughout the Hudson Valley and surrounding New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania area.
Adam.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Adam Clarkson with Clarkson, McAlonis, and O'Connor. We are a community association law firm serving all of South Carolina from our Charleston, South Carolina office. We do general counsel, construction defect litigation, and collections on a deferred fee basis. I'm a fellow of the College Community Association Lawyers, and I'm also your vice chair of the Legislative Action Committee.
Adam, question. Would you ever come on the live stream with your new bride? I'd like to question her with you there.
No.
Okay, well, there you go. There you have it, audience. I don't know what that's about, but I would love to. I have a lot of questions to ask her. You're very fascinating. Okay, Kristen.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Christian Seville with the law firm of McCabe, Trotter, and Beverly. We have offices in Columbia, South Carolina, and Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, though we represent community associations all throughout the Carolinas. We are effectively a one-stop shop handling general matters, litigation, collections, and it's always a pleasure to be here with the CAI folks.
John.
Good morning, John Legumina from the Legumina Law Firm in Purchase, New York. We represent condominiums, co-ops, and HOAs from New York City throughout the Hudson Valley areas.
Now, John, your wife's probably traveling because you own property all over Europe.
No, she's a teacher.
Okay, would you have her come on the live stream? I'd like to meet her.
Oh yeah.
See,
no problem.
John, trust me. Thank you, John.
No
Much appreciated. We'll work on Adam, and maybe we'll do a special spousal kind of live stream. You know what I mean? And Greg's that we already know. So,
yeah, we
all right.
did.
Here we go. New Year's resolution. So first, I got a poll question here. Do you think this year professionally, not your personal life, do you think it's going to be the better? Do you think it's going to be the same? Or do you think it's going to be worse? And let me launch the poll. Greg, what do you think our audience is going to answer?
I think they're going to answer same. We're going to see where it ends up.
Adam.
Try not to cheat and look at it.
What do you think, Adam?
No. I think that the majority is going to go with better.
All right, so it looks like it was pretty even all along, 40% with better. So that's awesome. I'm glad to see that. And the same, and I'm sorry for those who may think they have it worse. If you could share why you think it would be worse, I would be very much interested in that. And like I said, I don't use anybody's names, and I haven't messed up yet. All right, I'm going to start off with predictions, and I have quite a few, but let's see if our panel hits any of the ones that I was going to hit. Greg, I wish I had a crystal ball. I should have brought a crystal ball. That would have been cool. I could have used it and made a sound. Greg, what is your prediction for next year?
I didn't know we were putting on the spot for predictions for next year. I mean, when it comes to insurance, I feel like we're going to be in the same boat, and the prediction really is the umbrella market continuing to be a problem.
I thought insurance was going down in some cases. Am I mistaken?
In package and in certain areas it is. In the New York area, the umbrella programs are shrinking, and getting the limits and the premiums that we're seeing on some of these renewals have seen some drastic increases.
Okay. And you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a prediction with you guys, and I'm going to do one of my predictions. This doesn't mean this is my opinion. I'm just throwing it out there. They're not really my predictions. They're here to stimulate conversation. Portfolio manager role reductions. There's a little bit of chatter about this, that instead of management companies hiring a manager to run 6 or 12 communities, they're going to basically hire someone above a bunch of other more support people to do the routine work. Adam, what do you think about that?
That's not a future prediction. That's something that's been going on for years.
Okay. Do you think it's going to escalate for next year or just stay at the same pace?
I think it's going to taper off and go the other direction. I meing, they're running into some issues just because they don't have everybody centralized where somebody can oversee it. Not to say that you can't get great results out of those locations, but I think that there's a certain level of oversight that you want, particularly with a lot of the community associations. They're going to hold their association management accountable, so they really want to see them doing work on site. But then again,
Right.
some of the other ones have done a great job in the U.S. doing it and centralizing it. So,
all right. So, Kristen, Adam brought up this point about overseas. I didn't even know that was taking place in our industry. I was thinking more like technology is going to make it easier for less experienced individuals to have more of a role and maybe have a higher experience supervise them. Do you agree or disagree with me, or do you have a whole different thought process on this?
I think that community association management is just such a unique field where accountability is so present immediately with the homeowners that are living there. They have a way to call the management company. They're going to let you hear about the complaints. Also, you're going to have regular meetings where homeowners are going to air their grievances. And so I think that it's a best practice to have the folks that are ultimately accountable to the people on the ground to be as available and with as few degrees of separation as possible. At the same time, when you start talking about how technology might sort of affect the managerial operations, I think that it kind of remains to be seen how AI resources like this are going to be potentially used in this field, whether they can or whether they should.
So let's see, the audience is saying we are a service-centric industry. I agree with Adam. Let me hit some of these backtrack a little bit too. Some of the issues that people think by next year is going to be tougher. I am having problems sourcing natural stone tile. So I think there's going to be a shortage of certain materials next year. Our community was not happy when we outsourced. Next year, we're going to be involved in more neighbor-to-neighbor disputes, which we should not be. I have a lot of pending lawsuits, so I think it's going to get worse. Lawsuit. Okay, a lot of stuff in there about lawsuits and litigation for next year. Also, just to remind everybody, backtracking was people don't like the outsourcing. The residents didn't like it. John, any commentary on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think the 800-pound gorilla is AI, right? Is that gonna change things? I kind of agree with what Christian was mentioning, is that it remains to be seen, and communities like to see who's on the board, who their managing agent is, But I could see, in my own experience, there's owners, like, they go on AI and they don't just say, what's the board doing about this? They tell you exactly what the law is, and by the way, most of the time they're wrong, and what you should be doing and what best practices are, and they grab it from like Hawaii or something. Like, it just doesn't apply to your situation. But I think, yeah, I see a change there.
I'm getting some commentary that people actually do use other sources from outside the country for after hours, and from Vietnam in this case, and they think it's terrific. It's been a great added benefit. And everyone is also, a lot of comments about technology taking the jobs or taking responsibilities away from managers. Greg, I think somebody in the panel said, well, the residents aren't going to like it. Well, you know what? Nobody liked it either when the cable company went to AI, and we all put up with it. So I think residents are probably just going to have to get used to this, in my opinion. Greg.
Yes, definitely something we're going to have to get used to, and hopefully they work out some of these quirks and it makes things work smoothly. I don't think anybody wants to lose that personal touch in our area where you've got one manager who knows your association, who's the go-to person, but the better their resources could be behind them for them to delegate and be able to use their time for the in-person items would be helpful.
But everybody loves to save a buck. So we know that owners want things until they find out they can save a few bucks. So we'll see what happens, but I think it's going to have a big impact. Okay, Adam, you are next. what is your prediction for next year?
Well, I can kind of cheat that since I already know some of the things that are coming down the pipe, the pipe on the Legislative Action Committee. I think the one that's going to be the most surprising for everybody, because we don't have a pending bill yet, but word is we might end up with facing one next year, is manager licensing in South Carolina. And I know that you've got Florida folks on here that are already dealing with that. And they've been dealing with it for a while. And it's something that CAI is opposed to, because we want to let professionals work and let you guys get credentials through CAI and educate yourselves. But it's a possibility. That's the buzz right now.
So keeping kind of the route I'm going here, John, that was one of my slides. I kind of threw it in there, not exactly the same thing. Thanks, Adam. More complex regulatory compliance demands. Do you think that that's true? Do you think the government's going to get their hands and everything that's going on even more so next year?
Yeah, I mean, I as Adam, like, I could kind of cheat on this too. Like, New York just put in a requirement. It's a pre-foreclosure notice. So you have, and it has to be, it's kind of like what they're saying is, if you're a condominium that you're foreclosing, you have to do the same thing that banks do. And you have to warn the owner that you're going to foreclose. It has to be at least 90 days, have to be 14-point font. It's so, yeah. So you're going to see some of that. You're going to see, we think, reserve study requirements. New Jersey just adopted one last year. New York might be next.
Kristen, going to get more complex, right?
That's the only way I can really see it going. And, speaking to South Carolina, where you have the HOA Act that, established this framework for homeowners to file complaints with Department of Consumer Affairs that are then handed off to the legislators for review at the end of the year. I think it would probably be naive to think that the compilation and provision of all these complaints isn't going to lead to some sort of legislation, whether it's prudent or not.
I was just thinking the same thing, prudent, because we did a whole, for the audience, South Carolina has this thing where you can make complaints that everybody can see it. And jump in, guys, if I'm wrong on that. So we did a whole full live stream. I actually spent a lot of time researching all the complaints. They're absolutely ridiculous. I mean, the majority of them are absolutely preposterous. They don't even make any sense. They're 100% not true. But politicians are politicians. So I guess those people vote. Greg, anything to add?
No, I think it was well said, but from an insurance company standpoint, I see it as well, where there's going to be more look into asking for structural engineer reports, asking about the reserve studies, making sure there's no deferred maintenance, and it's under more of a microscope now than it has been, and it's going to continue.
Okay, I'm going to throw one in mine. More specialized departments. This kind of maybe ties into the one I just did. Management companies are making more violation teams, more accounting teams, customer service teams, maintenance teams. They seem to be kind of outsourcing that stuff to themselves. Kristen, do you agree or disagree?
I think if management company is keeping it in-house, probably varies by the management company, but I think that sounds like a good thing to me. Is they're the folks that have the most hands-on experience with these things.
Greg?
Yes, I could see that coming down the road. Again, you're trying to free up the time of your managers so that they're able to do the important tasks that they need to do. So having these departments could be very helpful.
John, and once again, you're probably going to agree, and we're training residents also to deal with a lot of different people then.
Yeah, I mean, if you could make it simpler for your property manager, so if they have someone next door to them, or they could, text, it's quicker, it's more efficient. That I could see that trend.
And Adam, this is going to be the case again. The way I call it is residents aren't going to like it. They like dealing with their manager, but it's just going to be the way it is. You're just going to have to learn to deal with other people. Agree or disagree?
It's just going to depend. I think what we're going to see, because this isn't a new trend. This is old. This has been around for about 25 years. What you're talking about here, the big management companies have done it in different layers, and it's just a difference in service. And basically, the associations pick what service level they want. If they want a manager that's going to be there and on site and be entwined, they can do that, and that's a certain service level. If they want to try to get this, save it buck and have this stuff more outsourced, which is a great way of doing it too, different ways of doing it, they can do that. It's really a choice for the association how they want things to be run around there.
Okay, let me hit up a couple of comments here. AI technology is awesome. A lot of commentary that people like AI technology. Somebody saying that a manager got into a lot of trouble using AI because they did some research on it and it turned out to be a big problem. And then a whole bunch of pros and cons for manager licensing. That's usually all over the place. Adam, I don't want to get too off topic on this, but where do you find that within the industry? How do people feel about manager licensing? But like I said, I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I'm curious. What are you hearing from managers? Do they like the idea or don't?
It depends. I think some managers think it's a great idea because they think it's going to help them, give them more exclusivity. It will push up the pay point because that's historically what has happened in the other states, like because it's more expensive. The problem is it makes it more expensive for the associations, and there's a barrier to entry, and it's just another place where you're going to get complaints. Now you're going to get complaints against your license in addition to those DCA complaints and everything else. So, some folks don't want it. CAI is of course opposed to it because we want self-regulation for CAI. So I think it's, having been in a state that had it for 20 years, Nevada, it gets really bad. I've seen it since it started. It hasn't been a positive thing. It's been a negative thing.
Okay. All right, Kristen, prediction.
This might be a little inside baseball, but I foresee a bit of uncertainty regarding Fair Housing Act actions with homeowners associations for the next year. There was recently a blog on our website about some new memos that came down from the Department of Housing and Urban Development that withdrew some prior guidance documents that had been very influential in really evaluating how Human Affairs and other organizations might interpret Fair Housing Act complaints, including service animals, which is a hot button issue for a lot of community associations. We see there has been a withdrawal of that guidance. I think there's a good bit of uncertainty right now just how that's going to play out in action over the next year or so.
I think that's one that's also been going on. Would you agree? It's not 100% a new thing, right?
I would say so. The tone of those actions do sort of ebb and flow with the times and different political climates. And now with these this new guidance out here, it does seem like they'll be shifting efforts to perhaps more obvious or blatant targeted discrimination actions. But with all the uncertainty, still the advice remains the same: to act prudently and give deference to folks who have claimed disabilities or other discrimination issues.
So the next one I had was greater reliance on technology. I think we've already talked that one to death, and there's about a zillion more comments on it. I think that's absolutely going to happen. And the next one that I had was increased expectation for remote and hybrid work. This is part of my research, but I don't agree with it. I don't think that's actually happening. I think businesses want people to come in. So I don't know why this popped up. John, commentary.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this already, right? Ever since COVID, remote working. Initially, the study showed it actually you worked a little bit more per day, so it wasn't as bad as everyone feared. But I think we're seeing the flip side of it now. In New York, especially in New York City, most of the banks are requiring their staff to be in just about every day. So I think I think we're seeing that it actually can be helpful. It's not the fears that we had were unfounded, but there's a balance too. Adam mentioned it before about like having everyone in the same room, and there's positives to that. So I think we'll see it, but maybe not dramatically.
I don't know if anybody in the panel agrees or disagrees, and we go on to the next one, but like I think companies want to see it happen, and employees are fighting it tooth and nail, and they are being dragged into the office. Greg, agree or disagree?
Agree.
Yeah.
I think we're seeing the opposite though of this. We're looking to see more people in person, and there's definitely a backwards trend to it, the way John's saying it. But yeah, there's definitely also a fight and a push. And if you're a small business and you're trying to hire, a lot of employees are demanding or looking for remote and hybrid type work from their aspect.
I disagree with it. Like I said, anybody agree with it? Or I'm just going to move on. All right. John, prediction, you're up.
Well, prediction, we're going to have more regulations.
New
York
we
already
did that one, but go ahead.
Go ahead. Prediction of what prediction?
Give me a new one. We already predicted that there's going to be a lot new regulation. Can you give me a new one? Can you think of? I can give you one if you can't think of one off the top of your head. But can you give me one that isn't new regulation?
Give me one, because
you want to give me one? Tell me if you agree with this. Elevate focus on green community initiatives. I'm kind of hesitant on this one. It came up in my research. I know associations that are doing it. I think we can see a variance from state to state. But go ahead. Do you think this is going to be a prediction that boards are going to have to get involved in this?
Yeah, I think that's a good one. In New York, so you have just an example, heat pumps, right? There's incentives for installing heat pumps. I'm seeing a lot of communities having to deal with them. And you have the cold climate ones that are a little bit bigger than a regular heat pump. That's presented some issues. But they, apparently these cold climate heat pumps are they're very good, even in the north of New York. Up by past Albany. So you're going to see, I think you're going to see more of that. And especially in New York City, there are a lot of green incentives.
Somebody's saying it looks like Adam is texting. He should share it with the entire live stream. Adam, would you be willing to screen share Adam, wait, you're setting,
I would not be willing to share it.
Okay. All right. I'm confused when you guys send me text messages. I'm happy when you do. Okay. Adam, green technology. Do you think it's going to happen or not happen? Do you think associations are ever going to care about it?
Are associations going to care about it, or are they going to be forced to care about it? Like John's pointing out, I agree. I think it's going to. I mean, it's coming. It's one of those things. I think they're going to get pushed into it, particularly depending on what part of the country you're in. There are various different initiatives that you're being forced to deal with, but you're going to have to, it's reality. You're going to have to deal with it. Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Kristen, but I don't want to get sidetracked, even though I'm like almost forcing you to. I just thought of something. Is it the fiscal responsibility of a board to take a green initiative if it's going to cost the residents more and it offers no extra stability to the association? This seems like a dicey one to me. Like, I think we'll save it for a topic, but can you offer short commentary on it, or do you need to pass on it?
No, that's a good question, but I feel like I can say quite confidently that the board's fiduciary duty is to the association, and for better or worse, not the environment.
John, I'm going to argue, just for the sake so someone argues, a lot of the owners want it. They're not going to be a vote, but it's important to the owners. And you could argue that it's in the owner's best interest to have some green technology to save the planet. Could that go in the direction for the board to do it?
Absolutely. I mean, remember, the owners control, right? You vote in who you want. And if a big block of owners want to vote in people that are in favor of these measures, yeah, absolutely. That it's representative democracy, so the people actually get to decide these things.
Okay, so Adam, thanks, John. I was going in the direction that the board doesn't have a fiduciary responsibility to the association, but could a board argue, well, we have a responsibility to the owners and residents in general to keep the environment safe. Is that enough of a responsibility that it could override the fact that it doesn't directly relate to the association?
Well, I'm gonna say I agree with Christian and John, and I'm gonna elaborate on what they said a little bit. But I mean, it depends on what situation you're looking at. As far as making some sort of improvement, no. I mean, they can't come in and put in can't come and put solar panels in most cases, because it's going to be capital improvement. They're going to need to have a membership vote, so they're going to have to get that voted on. Boards don't have just unfettered discretion to just start making random changes to the community that they want to make or that they think is good for the community. They've got to actually get approval. Otherwise, they're spending outside of their budget parameters or the implied parameters. But I mean, if we're talking about, again, going safe, if you're talking about environmental issues like you're maintaining ponds or other things, then certainly you're going to want to be using the proper chemicals and whatnot. If that's not a big difference and it's just an operational expense, that's probably within their discretion. But I don't think that's what we're really talking about. That I think we're really talking about big capital improvement type situations.
Greg, you know what direction I was going in? I'm going to save it for another topic. A board has to decide whether to use asphalt or use another product that's more expensive that will be better on the environment, right? Maybe some pavers or something. And the direction I was going in, Greg, and we'll save it for another topic. I don't know if you agree or disagree, Greg. Can the board spend more money on the product that's better for the environment, or are they obligated to spend less money because at the end of the day, it doesn't really change the association that much? Greg.
Oh, I understand the question. Yeah, that's more an attorney answer of what they could or could not do. But the boards basically are overwhelmed with the amount of projects and things they have going on to begin with. So if you're talking about adding on new green initiative type products, I kind of agree they're probably against the change in doing it. But when you're contemplating the product you're going to use for a project that has to be done because it's past its useful life, it's definitely something they should be considering, is what's the best product to use for the future.
I know it was an attorney question, Greg, but I felt like the attorneys weren't really giving me an answer in 30 seconds. So that's why I just went to you. So I'm just going to move on. I felt like they just kept sticking with the 1 point. So, okay, audience, I'll try to come back to this one and we'll see if we can pin them down. But it's hard for them because they can't answer everything in 30 seconds. All right. So let's see which other ones that I had. Ooh, I think everyone is going to agree with this one. Let me see if I can find it. Slide number 22. And it is more emotionally charged residents. I think, and I'm going to swing it. There's going to be more of a demand for managers to learn emotional intelligence and better people skills. And I'm going to do a lot of programming on that next year. Greg, I think prediction is right on.
Definitely, and it's a trend that keeps going. Obviously, we have more people spending more time in these associations and dealing with owner-to-owner conflicts or board-to-owner conflicts, and it continues to seem to be on the rise. It's not going down. Obviously, the attorneys can answer on that point, but I don't see a reduction in claims or reduction in issues. And having a well-trained property manager in de-escalating situations and communicating properly and well is one of the best answers to it.
John, I don't think people are going to get any nicer. I think they're still getting meaner and meaner and meaner. But is it because I'm just getting older, or do you think it's true?
No, it's well, maybe it is because you're getting older. But
yeah,
I agree with pretty much word for word everything Greg just said. It's the longer you live in there, we saw it during COVID, right? People were home more, and then the battles, the owner to owner fights escalated, and it got pretty dicey. So if you have the ability to handle that and de-escalate it, it's going to save you significant money on lawsuits, insurance premiums, etc.
Kristen, do you think John and I are just a bunch of old coots who are just angry at the world because our time on this planet goes away hour by hour and minute by minute? Or do you think people actually are just getting meaner? John, is it okay I threw you in there with me, or would you prefer not to be?
You could throw me under the bus with you. That's fine.
Thank you.
Well, Ray, that topic might deserve its own live stream someday, but I think that I don't see it necessarily getting, I don't see why it would necessarily be worse than the previous year, but I will say that folks definitely got meaner in 2020 at our HOA meetings and just day-to-day operations, and it seems to not be getting any nicer since 2020.
So why do you think it's not getting any worse? Are you just trying to have a good attitude and not bring people down like I do?
From our experience, I would say it's just sort of plateaued. I would say there's a marked difference in people from before 2020 and post 2020, but we have perhaps been blessed to not necessarily see it get worse every year. I think it's just we live in that post 2020 world of escalated conflict.
John and I don't think it's going to get better. We're sick and tired of it. So, Adam, what do you think?
I think it's going to get worse. I think that the issues that we've talked about are part of the reason it is getting worse, and it's going to get worse. The addition of new legislation in South Carolina and the addition of the AI. The new legislation, it won't solve the problems. It's just going to give one more thing for people to fight over. So they're going to fight over those issues. And then the AI, people just go out, they don't know what they're doing. They get some ridiculous answer from AI, and they think that that's what the law is because that's what AI threw out at them. But like John's pointed out, it came from like Hawaii, or more often than not, it came from California because California just has so many people, it has so many hits, it pushes the AI answers to the top. And they've got the Davis-Sterling Act, which is very specific and very unique and is not like any of the other acts. It doesn't track the Uniform Acts or anything else. So that while the answers push to the top, it also doesn't apply to pretty much any other state in the union.
Greg, John and I and Adam think the world is people are just going to get meaner and meaner and meaner. And here's Kristen with this like, oh, I don't think it's going to get worse. And I think people are going to get nicer and better. And I'm really optimistic about the world. And John and Adam and I are just like, no, the world's just going to become worse and worse. Greg, what is your outlook on the world?
Sadly, I'm on the same boat as you, John and Adam. So I don't see it that way. People are just getting more aggressive, more nasty. It is an ongoing problem.
You know what, Kristen? I feel sorry for you. You got your whole life ahead of you. You're probably in love. You got a lot of cool things coming up in the future. And then you're here with us and we're like, blah. Okay. Don't listen to us.
I don't think it's going to get better. I just don't think it's going to get worse.
Oh, we heard you. We think it's going to get worse. Believe me. We're not even agreeing with you that it's going to stay the same. We just think it's going to get worse. And most people in the audience think so also, which I'm not surprised. And okay, there we go. Well, I'm very sorry about that. All right, here we go. So let's do resolutions. I've got 5 of them. Oh yeah, a lot of people saying things are getting meaner. I'm trying to be optimistic, but folks are just really bad at conflict resolution. Social media is not going to allow it to get any better. There's another comment here that says, I've been trying to make the description clubhouse lawyer catch on, like a jailhouse lawyer, but for communities. I think AI is fueling, empowering, and in fact, avoiding this behavior. I would agree 100% because it's unusual for me to go on AI before we talk about a topic and then have Adam and Kristen and John and even Greg come on for insurance and tell me a completely different version. You could not trust AI. Does anyone on the panel think that managers should trust AI for professional advice?
No.
Okay, there you go. Lots of comments. Yeah, I'm sorry, Kristen, no one agrees with you. There's not one person on the panel or in the audience that thinks things are going to get better. Okay. In our industry, they're probably going to get better in their lives. All right. So I'm going to start off with a resolution is be proactive, not reactive. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we all know that we're supposed to be like that. Anybody on the panel disagree with that?
That's the best one.
You think so?
Yeah, that is, you need to hit things off in advance and stop them from blowing up into something larger. Let people be heard. We're talking about these disgruntled unit owners or they're fighting amongst each other. Let them be heard, try to get to the bottom of the problem and de-escalate the whole thing. And that will stop problems from growing and keep you in a healthier, happier community.
Everyone is saying Greg is right. You know, audience, don't give Greg credit for this. This is such an obvious one. And all he did was parrot what I put on the slide. how come no one ever says that I'm right? I put it on there.
Great
but it's
job,
fine.
Ray, putting that on there
Give Greg
first.
audience, give Greg all the credit, all the thumbs up. It's fine. Also going back, people are saying we can all hope for it to be better. And I think that's a really nice comment. So thank you for sending it. All right, Adam, give me a on the spot resolution. It could be a personal resolution too. We're curious. Or business or industry.
A personal resolution for next year?
No, for managers or board members, what would be a good resolution for them? Can you think of one?
I thought you were going to give me another one. It says 5 resolutions back there. You only got one. I thought I was going to pair out your next one, Ray.
Okay. Well, I noticed that someone from the audience commented too. They're on to you.
You know what? Okay. I'll say a resolution. We should all be more positive, like Christian. We should have a more positive outlook towards the future, like Christian, because I think that's probably going to be better for our mental health, and maybe just putting it out there in the world, maybe that'll make things better. So I appreciate that. I like that.
You know what? You're getting a lot of applause by that commentary, even though you don't mean it. And I actually do think that Kristen actually has a hopeful view. Okay. I gave you one. Improve meeting efficiency, I think is a good, it's just so easy. I mean, I know it's on the spot stuff, but improve meeting efficiency. It's kind of boring, but I think a good trick to that is just make a shorter agenda. If you make your agenda 4 pages long, it's going to be a long meeting. John, agree?
Totally agree. You could even, in New York, especially in New York City, many management agreements have, if a meeting is over X time, they pay extra incentive to have your meetings efficient.
A lot of people saying that Kristen is providing positive motivational energy, and that could go a long way in making your life great and making whatever age you are the prime of your life. I admit it's true. I'm sorry. Sorry,
well,
audience.
Thank you very much. Perhaps we should do a retrospective live stream a year from now, and we'll see how my prediction aged.
Well, one thing you could assume is that John and I at least are going to be grouchier. There's no doubt about that. I mean, we're not going to get any better. There's hope for maybe the rest of you, but John and I are done. Okay. A lot of people saying that a lot of residents expect you to solve all their problems, and they're expecting that to also increase also. Anybody have any comments on improving meeting efficiency? I mean, Greg's probably going to get credit for it, but I think I just made that up, Adam. If your agenda's 5 pages long, your meeting's going to be too long.
It's a good one. I was just going to add, use timed agendas. I love timed agendas, and make the timing short. Keep the meeting moving, because people don't come to sit there. It's a disservice to the people that want to just hear the association's business to allow people to sit there and rant. Keep the meeting short, time it, move it on.
So I don't know if I agree with this one, and I'll start off with Greg, because I think this one could be trouble. Document better. And the research that I came up with said document everything: decisions, conversations, approval, violations. I don't like this one, Greg. We'll see what the attorneys say.
I do like it. You do have to document everything that's important. You want to back it up with the professional you went and got the advice from, and keep a record of that for when you're not on the board and it's 4 years later and something's being questioned. So I like it.
Backtracking a little bit so I keep up. People are saying we charge for when our meetings go over 2 hours. That's a great idea. I love it. That'll keep the meetings down. Oh, a lot of people saying documentation is the best defense. You know, Kristen, I'm thinking I don't know, if you document everything, I hate to say it, but you can't backtrack on it. I know it's terrible, but why would you document every conversation? I don't know. What do you think, Kristen? I mean, no one agrees with me so far.
I think with the statutes the way they are for HOAs, as well as just for accountability to the homeowners and residents, it's always just best to err on the side of transparency, and it can be difficult to do that if you're not documenting properly. I will qualify that by saying that we have seen a number of associations who keep minutes of executive session, which I can say in South Carolina is not something that is required, and generally something we don't advise when you're discussing something of that sensitive of a nature. You just don't really want to introduce it into a gray area where you could arguably be required to produce something that shows very sensitive information. Other than that, I would agree with the resolution.
John.
Yeah, that's spot on. Your meeting minutes, it should be the opposite, right? You shouldn't document every word that's said in the meeting. Stick to the action items, maybe briefly summarize some of the discussions, but yeah, everything Christian said is accurate.
Adam, my comment is only document what you have to. Don't document anything that you don't have to document, right or wrong.
Wrong.
Okay. I know I'm wrong because everyone thinks I'm wrong, including the
I was gonna
audience.
say mainly because you said it, Ray. I'm gonna go with wrong because you said it, and then I'm gonna explain why you're wrong.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I mean, you don't have to have an engineer go out right now if you're in a high rise on the coast and have them inspect the building and make sure it's not going to fall down on everybody. You don't have to, but you should. And the state, hopefully, eventually, we're going to have laws compelling folks to do that and making sure that repairs are done. But right now, you don't have to. So there's a lot of situations where associations aren't doing what they absolutely have to do, but they're documenting. A lot of our, for example, for the legal opinions we're generating and jumping off kind of what Greg was saying earlier, having that backup. I mean, a lot of times what we're creating with our legal opinions is we're creating a historical record that reflects what the board's decision and why, and that they consulted with counsel and had a strong legal basis for making it, so that in the event that there's a dispute later on and they have to go in and Greg's working with them to notify the insurer of a claim, they can say, hey, we're protected under the business judgment rule because we did seek out a professional opinion. Here it is. It's reasonably set forth. We didn't copy it off of Google's AI program. It's actually came from a real attorney and everything else. So, I mean, documentation is a central point of that. So that touches real close to us as being attorneys. So it's something we do a lot of.
By far, the audience is also saying document just about everything. Documentation is the best defense. I may have said that already. I agree with someone is agreeing with me. I agree with you. The less you say, the better. That's how I do the minutes. As owners grow more litigious, documentation, especially as a manager, is critical to protecting ourselves. How do you know what to document, though? You never know when something will come up that you need to reference later. We've done live streams on that. Boards develop a group amnesia when consequences come around. You need to document. You know what, audience? I didn't even think of that one. You're right. The board could completely forget what you said. Sometimes I run into that. I come up with fantastic ideas. And then Greg was on the Hudson Valley board. He would steal all my ideas. He would forget that I said it a couple months ago. And then everyone on the board would think Greg was a genius. So I should have been documenting Greg all along. And then I could have said, look, that was my idea, not Greg's. Agree or disagree, Greg?
Agree.
Okay, thank you. All right. All right, does anybody on the panel, before I keep going with mine? All right, I'll do this one, and then John and Kristen, I don't think we put you guys on the spot. If you don't have one, a resolution. Set firm boundaries. Protect your time, avoid burnout, and stay professional. I know these are just kind of like blah, blah, blah ones, but sometimes they help people. They do. Any commentary on this one? It's important. Okay. Kristen, do you have a resolution? If you were a board member or a manager, do you have one? If you don't, it's okay.
Mine would be, don't take it home with you. It kind of plays into setting firm boundaries, I suppose. But I see so many board members or managers, especially if you're dealing with litigation or a really contentious issue, that it weighs on them when they go home. It weighs on them when they're not working. And then when it's time to, be at work and actually address the issue, it has just bubbled and bubbled up, and it's become a more emotional issue, and it's harder to deal with a clear mind. And, sometimes you have to tell clients, listen, don't let this ruin your weekend. We're going to circle back. We're going to approach this and we're going to handle it. And it's not going to do us a lot of good if we let it start ruining our personal lives as well.
You know what? I didn't have that one on my list, and that may be the best one of today. Don't take it home with you. I thought that was absolutely true. I wish I made a slide that said, don't take it home with you. I'm probably going to do it in the future, and I apologize because I'm probably going to Greg will take credit for it first, but I may forget to apply it to you, but we'll see what happens. Okay, John, do you have a resolution for a
I
board
do.
member?
I do. So my resolution is use your professionals. You have a property manager, don't do the management for the property manager. You have a leak situation, don't go in and say, oh, I know where the leak is coming from. Use a plumber. If the plumber can't figure it out, use an engineer and get it in writing. We already mentioned it. Don't just go by what the plumber said. Get him to put it in writing, and it just makes everything a lot easier down the road. And you get the protection of the business judgment rule, especially if you seek the advice and act on the advice of professionals.
Adam and I were laughing, John, because you're 100% right, and I'm glad you brought it up. But it's like, that was a pretty easy one. I'm sorry that I didn't grab it first, because we talk about that one at every single live
Every
stream.
session.
I know, you beat us to it, but I'm glad that you did, because actually it's pretty important. All right, did I miss anybody for trying to do a resolution? Because I got one more here. I actually have two. Before I do the last one, this one is, I would like to spend the weekend with Adam and his wife. That's my resolution for next year. Not my wife too, Adam, just me. I want to stay overnight. I want to have my own, obviously I assume your place is a palace. I'd like to have you cook me a steak dinner and everything. I'm going to hang out on your patio and then maybe go for a swim in your pool. If you got a big tub, I'd like to take a nice bath in a giant tub. And then in the morning, I'd like to have breakfast. Adam, what are the odds of that happening? What are the odds of me being invited to your compound for the weekend?
I think there was a slide before this that I think applies to this section.
I need
The slide right before this was
that firm boundaries.
that firm boundaries. Yes. And I think, that applies to interviewing her on a webcast, and also you showing up at the house in your pajamas.
You assume pajamas.
I'd
that's
love
fine.
to cook you a steak dinner though.
Okay.
I can cook a good steak, Ray. Love to have you for dinner sometime. Probably, we're in Charleston, so there's plenty of great places to stay. So you don't need to be in the bedroom down the hall, but be happy to cook dinner for you sometime, Ray.
All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. As a board member, it's not easy to take it home with you when the problem is when you're a board member, it's not easy not to take it home with you when the problem is your neighbor. You know what? That's a really good point, board members. We always forget about that. You're living with the people that are crazy. Actually, people inviting me. Other people saying they actually have a sauna. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Could I bring others? Can I bring like a whole, if you're a manager, can I bring sponsors? Because I'll get some sponsor credits out of the way also. Maybe I'll bring like 13 or 14. No, I appreciate the invites. That's very kind of you. That being said, let me launch this poll because I almost forgot about it. Because I was curious about this one. And this one is just a silly little poll. What location is the most trouble with you for the crazies? Where do you run into the crazies the most? The pool, the gym, the lobby, or the clubhouse if you don't have a lobby, or other. Wow. Okay. Overwhelmingly coming in as pool. Anybody on the panel surprised? I'm not. I'm going to end the poll. I'm going to launch it so it shows up on the recorded version. Wow. 84% said the pool. I am surprised it was that high. I know that we kind of have a lot of crazy people at the gym sometimes, and I've seen managers get confronted at the lobby. Greg, were you surprised?
I was surprised it was that high a percentage, but not surprised that pool was the leader.
Okay. Adam?
Oh, it's definitely the pool. I mean,
right.
That's where you end up with the most naked people. That's where you have the most naked people problems is the pool. The people love to get naked in the pool. People get loose around the pool. They drink around the pool. So you also have issues with that. And then you get issues with and that's also where you can run into issues with board members, because board members intrinsically feel like while they won't necessarily try to police any other area, they may try to police the pool. And when they get into policing the pool, it gets out of hand really quick there too. So it's just, it's just such it's such a great source of litigation opportunities.
Well said, Adam.
Okay, with that being said, Ah, thank goodness it's the last one of the year. I got one more tomorrow because I think I'm a little out of control. All right. My last resolution that I came up with is to communicate better, reduce confusion, and build trust. I researched this one. Greg, why do you think it said build trust? Do you think they're implying that people are just being dishonest, or because I don't, go ahead. I don't think that's the case.
Especially in the HOA, their first impression though is for a board member, if that's what we're going against here, is they're holding back or they're not telling you the whole truth or they're picking something for the wrong reasons, and there isn't a lot of trust there. So yes, as a board member, you need to build trust with the unit owners.
Okay. Also, audience, anybody that wants to jump on, I would be happy to have you do so. Just send me something in the question, and I have a few questions. A lot of smaller associations don't have, a lot of smaller associations don't have gyms or lobbies, but almost everyone has a pool. People are, once again, to be clear, the age was like 12 or 11 or something. It was pretty innocent in regard to my story. It wasn't an adult doing it or anything. And it was more curiosity than I think anything. All right, Kristen, communication. I mean, can't be against it, right?
No, and I think, you know, when you're speaking on behalf of the board, it's always a good idea to have the whole board take a look at what's going out, because oftentimes you'll see one board member has an understanding of a situation and fires off a e-blast to the community, and it maybe doesn't get all the facts right. And then what may be an innocent mistake that could have been fixed with collaboration looks like some sort of misrepresentation.
John, do you think attorneys are good communicators in our industry? Because I'm just going to toss this out there. There's a lot of different philosophies with attorneys. And I see some that make a lot of effort at board meetings to communicate well. And quite frankly, I see some that don't seem to find that in their job description. They're just happy to stick with the legal niche of, if that's the right word to use, of every situation. Do you know what I'm trying to say? And do you agree or disagree?
So you're talking about at meetings?
Yeah, at meetings. It seems like boards, attorneys definitely have different personalities at board meetings.
So yeah, you have the attorney that like runs the meeting versus the attorney that just gives advice. So it depends on what the board wants you to do. You are an advisor, but they can ask you to help run the meeting. So I try to thread the needle, and I don't think, just my personal approach is, I don't think I'm there to run the meeting. I think that's a chance for the owners to see that you have an actual board that is knowledgeable and is in control. I think it's a bad look that the attorney is handling the meeting, because we're hopefully not paying common charges to the attorney to operate our property. So it depends on what approach you want, but yeah, I've seen, listen, I only go to the meetings where I'm at. I don't go to the meetings where other attorneys are at, but at least that's my approach.
Adam, I could see the attorney's point of view in both directions on this. I was thinking more like an attorneys that don't make a lot of effort to like a board will want an attorney to kind of like explain a situation, or they'll be thrown into that position, right? Maybe the board doesn't really want the attorney to speak, but the attorney's there, the question comes up. The attorney doesn't make a lot of effort to really explain it so most people can understand. The board's going to understand it. And sometimes I don't feel that the attorney can't do it. I feel like the attorney doesn't want to make the effort to do it in this industry. I'm not saying you do this by any means. I'm not saying that at all, but do you know what I'm getting at here?
No. Because John, I only go to the meetings that I'm the attorney at the meeting, and that's not what I do. But I handle things pretty much the same way John does. I'm not there to run the meeting. I'm going to address issues. Usually I'm pretty close to whoever's running the meeting. So if they're getting way off base, I can kick them in the shin and we can have a conversation real quick. But outside of that, if they want me to address something, or I'll even ask them if they would like me to address it, and I'll address it. But we can only, it's going to be limited. It's going to be the association's position. We're not going to explain anything that's compromising for the association or breach privilege. But certainly, part of our job is to explain it so that folks understand what they're doing. At least from my perspective, people want to understand it.
All right, let me put it this way. Kristen, you're my last hope. a lot of attorneys could care less if they communicate things to the owners in a way that the owners are going to understand. They just don't want to make an effort. They want to stick to the script. Maybe it's because it's their job. Maybe it isn't. Do you understand what I'm asking?
I think I do. And, I think, HOAs, they come to us, or they come to Adam, or they come to John because they have a problem that they want solved. And it's really not as simple. Maybe other areas of law might be a little bit more just question and answer sort of a format for an attorney. But really, we are there to put out a fire. And oftentimes a client will say, hey, I have this problem, so we need you to do this. Can we do this? And you could just give them a simple yes or no and tell them why. But you could also say, well, hey, you mentioned you had this problem. Have you considered this? Or perhaps we could also take, I'll answer your question, but also these are some things you might want to consider. And I think especially when you're dealing with owners, if it's like a meeting that owners are at, that certainly depends on the temperature of the room and what the client wants. But I'm sure whenever me or Adam or John are brought to a meeting, we are there to make the meeting go more smoothly and make the members feel better, or at least more informed about their board than they were beforehand.
Greg, wrap up.
I'm just going to add on to that sometimes these unit owners don't have good motives, and they're trying to gather and get information to actually attack the board. And it could be a good position of the attorneys have to watch what information they're giving out or what suggestions that they are giving out.
That's what I was kind of like, the direction I was going in. Like sometimes the owners don't understand, the board members don't understand too. Like the attorney is purposely not communicating everything because they want to hedge their bets and they don't want to go outside the guidelines of what the board wants. Is anybody on the panel have a problem that I said that? I'm not saying you agree with me. Is that okay? Because I don't want to get too far off track with my comments. Greg, was that kind of what you were saying also?
Yes.
Okay. Adam, now do you understand what I was trying to get to?
I mean, I understand what you're trying to get to the whole time, right?
The audience is demanding that you and I do a live stream one-on-one where I just come up with cockamamie ideas and you have to agree or disagree. So we will set that up for next year. All right, very quick closing thoughts. We have 1 minute. Greg.
Very good seminar for next year. Definitely document well, communicate well, don't procrastinate on items. Make sure you're addressing them using your professionals.
It's holiday season. If you drink, don't drive. Get an Uber, get a Lyft, get a taxi, do something else. Don't serve alcohol at your HOA events. If you're going to serve alcohol at your HOA events, make sure that you've consulted with insurance professionals like Greg to make sure you have proper coverage and proper event coverage, because that doesn't fall. And Greg can get into it, but I don't think you're going to be covered for it unless you have it special. And we've got a lot of liability in South Carolina on those issues. So be very careful about it.
Good advice. And you know what, Adam, we should have done that this time of year. All the issues with serving alcohol. I wish we had done so. Kristen.
I think if you are attending a CAI live stream or seminar, then you are already getting started on the right foot for the new year, and just continue to stay abreast of current issues with HOAs.
You were awesome today. You were so positive today. Can I call you later if I'm feeling a little bit angry? Cheer me up a little bit, or are you going to charge me?
I'll do my best. We can work out a fee.
He doesn't want me to call, but I understand. I just appreciate you. I just appreciate you being here for the live stream. John.
Hey, Ray.
Agree with everything said. De-escalate, use your professionals, be positive.
All right. I want to thank everybody for being here. I have a live stream with the managers next day, but then I got to take a break for the rest of the year. A bunch of paperwork I got to do for the chapter. So I appreciate a whole new schedule next year. I think it's going to be awesome. So thanks, panel, everybody. I appreciate you guys so much. I appreciate everybody that's watching, and I look forward to seeing everybody soon. Thanks, everybody. Bye. Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Thanks, everyone.